hand side on ice and chrome. This fighting for his tournament life is Goblin.
And down on the bottom left-hand side of the map, we have the wall, the blue Protoss player. He is ShoWTimE. And Team Big. He is.
He is. Love it. Yeah, you know, I predicted Goblin, and I think in reality, I really do expect a ShoWTimE win. I just kind of, I kind of can believe in Goblin doing something crazy enough to win, but you are right. ShoWTimE's PvP is so good. He's so consistent. And I do think the moment this gets past 10 minutes, ShoWTimE for me wins like 95% of the time.
That's a good way of putting it, actually. And I feel like PvP lately, it has been getting to that point a lot. It's turning into one of the matchups that I no longer think that the game is usually going to end before 6 or 7 or 7.5 minutes. It feels like, despite all of the different ways you can lose in Protoss versus Protoss, and I definitely feel that way when I play my own ladder games. But when I watch a lot of these pro level players, it really does feel like everyone's gotten so much better defending those early game aggressions, those early game all-ins, and they've made it possible to make it to the late game much more consistently. ShoWTimE really be at the forefront of that. Yeah,
no, for sure. It's really been a really cool kind of vision watching PvP change over the last 2 or 3 months. And with the Void Ray change, you know, we've even had a few more changes again as Goblin. He's going to embrace it, man. Proxies the Stargate across the map already. This doesn't have to be Void Rays rushing out and trying to deal damage. It can just be an Oracle or so, but it is a Stargate that's almost more positioned to go to the wall of ShoWTimE than if you put it on like the 6 o'clock position. You could just fly an Oracle into the main. So we'll see what it turns out to be. ShoWTimE's Scout 4 proxy is up the left side at the moment, so he's not finding it out in the center here.
Yeah, you're right. It definitely is a lot closer to the literal wall that is the wall, ShoWTimE. But even with just that positioning, I'm not going to lie, Wardy, I saw that and I was like, is this going to be a robo? Oh, no. Okay, so this is actually really, really not a great way for things to open up over here, because ShoWTimE is going to find the Stargate and both pylons over here. He should be able to kill off maybe one pylon, but it's going to be that Void Ray. The Void Ray does take a bit more time to actually come out. Adepts are going to show up, but I think the Stalkers can just kill the pylon and retreat, right? They don't have to.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't actually have to retreat.
There's another pylon, though. So
yeah, but I mean, extra little damage, right?
Yeah.
You'll supply block them a little bit.
Yeah, okay, that's true a little bit. It actually would have been fine, though, for the next Void Ray to start, because the other pylon finishes anyway, so it's not that bad, as now ShoWTimE's kind of taking a fight, and this prismatic alignment comes up, and that Void actually does a lot of damage. Well, the 2 Adepts are pretty low. The thing is, ShoWTimE now has a 3rd gate on the way, so he can really add a lot more Stalkers to this, and this first Void Ray is in some trouble, but I mean, so is the Stalker count, in fairness. 3 Stalkers go down. I think the Void is just more important, right? Because at the end of the day, it's meant to be that unit that really gathers power in numbers.
Yeah, exactly. There is another Void Ray that's going to be out, though, and with the Adepts joining the fray, there's actually fewer Stalkers than the first fight. Now with the next Warpin, there's going to be a few more, and he should be in a decent position to try and start holding this. Pylon might get taken out, and that was actually going to be for shield batteries, because that is actually what's going to give this Void Ray a lot more power to fight off a ton of Stalkers, is having those shield batteries to heal it up, to try and use that aerial advantage where the Void Rays can all just kind of stack up and fight individual Stalkers, but the Stalkers are going to get in the way of each other.
Yep. Just going to see another Void Ray popping, as we just see pushing through. I mean, prismatic alignment pops, but you can just target these Void Rays down real quick. He actually missed target for a moment. He let one Void Ray survive a little longer, but I think as long as you're keeping a good enough Stalker count to hold whatever's left, killing the Void Rays is always a good thing. Again, Void Rays really are power in numbers, and this push is losing a lot of momentum from Goblin. And I mean, look at it, 4 Adepts, 2 Zealots. They're just not good in these fights.
I also want to mention that ShoWTimE behind all this, as he is trying to find these little pickoffs here and there, he is body blocked with a pylon both potential expansions that Goblin would probably normally want to take if he wanted to try and transition out of this. He is forcing Goblin to hard commit to this attack. Like, there's no actual way Goblin can get a reasonable expansion up right now.
Yeah, it's tough, right? And like, I think Goblin was going to hard commit anyway, but it gives ShoWTimE that security that there's no expansion back at home, right? So there's no, it's scouting, because obviously he sees there's no base coming down, no attempt to clean up those pylons. I want to say, like, I still feel like ShoWTimE's losing a fair amount of Stalkers. Resources loss is actually favoring Goblin. It's just, again, the continued Stalker production has got to be better than this kind of mismatch of gateway units, and now, again, just 2 Void Rays. But if you get up to 3 or 4 Voids, it's not like the Stalker count is super out of number, but yeah, well, okay. He's going to go for the pylons. I mean, he'll get 2 of them, right? But maybe not the 3rd. Yeah. But he should have killed earlier for your dragon.
Ooh, that's going to be 1 less gateway or warp gate that can actually warp in as well. And there's actually going to be slow warp ins now here for Goblin. He's also supply block. That's actually a really nice pickoff. And there goes down the Stargate before the 3rd Void Ray pops out. The probe is still here, so it will be able to repower these eventually. But man, Wardy, this is such an unbelievably large delay.
Losing the gateway so you have slow warp-ins is the biggest part of this, right? Because now reinforcement becomes so much tougher. These Void Rays activate. We're going to see him losing another one of them. The Stargate will survive to finish up a next Void Ray, but this was a real play from ShoWTimE. This was probably the the best move he's done so far. And I love this. He knows Goblin's currently like hard protecting this Stargate, so he goes across the map to deal some damage, which of course then he can just recall home to help defend whenever he needs to. So he's going to get some damage, maybe just some power to the gates, a pylon, maybe a few probes. But Goblin's not comfortable enough attacking in, and that's the issue right now.
Goes after the pylon. No warp gate's going to be available soon, but he's going to have to try and defend back at home. He's got that shield battery, like you said. I mean, shield battery overcharge is still even available. He hasn't even started popping that.
Well, these Voids going to activate, and we do see the Stalkers across the map. I think they'll be in... No, they're still might run around. Okay, well, they're going to stick here and just shut down all the probes. I mean, at the end of the day, Goblin had to back away from the main base anyway, but these Adepts have put in work. Is there enough work? He's down almost half the worker count. It's not stopping anytime soon. As we see those couple of Voids in the Stalkers still picking their way through the gates to the front, so that's something at least, but ShoWTimE just has more, and of course, at any point, you can recall home to make this even better for him.
Yeah, Dep's going to try and shade once again, and the Voiders will probably use the space bot to try and take out another one of these gateways, which will bring ShoWTimE down to 2 gateways if he gets that. But, you know, I think I would take 2 gateways over a Nexus. GG, ShoWTimE shuts down the proxy Void Ray. The wall is not to be broken here, Wardy.
No, he played well, right? It's exactly what you said. He's really good against these Void Ray builds. Turns out, add Goblin to the mix. Doesn't just give Void Rays like, you know, 20 extra HP or something. So yeah, I mean, it kind of went how I expected it to in a way, right? Like, Goblin comes out as something weird. I still feel like there's so much potential now. Obviously, it really helps that ShoWTimE scouted early. I really feel what Goblin needed to do is invest in a shield battery further back, because so many of the fights happened around his Stargate. And if you put a shield battery there, even if it stops ShoWTimE from fighting you, it allows you to say, right, he stops fighting me. Now I can actually slowly progress forward, which is in the end what he had to do anyway, right? So if you just say he's got the map control to stop me getting the offensive shield batteries up, I've got to play this more slowly. If you just say that right away, maybe this goes a bit differently, because then we don't see 5 Void Rays die before Goblin makes it to the main base of ShoWTimE. So maybe a way to make some adjustments there. I still feel like the build had some possibilities, some potential, but yeah, ShoWTimE played really well given the circumstances. He saw the chance to punish Goblin, and he really did.
Yeah, and I have to say, like, ShoWTimE makes that actually look even a little bit easier than it actually was. Even though ShoWTimE didn't exactly make it look super duper easy, it was doing some really nice micro there. Keeping those Stalkers alive versus prismatically aligned Void Rays is a very fine timing you have to start pulling back before it actually ends up happening, before your Stalker starts taking a ton of damage. But even beyond all of that, I actually feel like ShoWTimE did a really nice job not overly investing into like tech or all these other things, because I know it's also really easy to be like, I have 16 Stalkers. Let me get up a Twilight Council. Let me start going for Blink, because then I can blink under the Voiders. You can do all these fancy things. ShoWTimE really just knowing exactly where to stop investing into tech, just continue pumping out Stalkers, and really capitalizing on what he actually had an advantage in.
All right, well, down again. Let's see if you can save my prediction at least a little bit. Our Red Protoss play from Team Roddy is Goblin.
And down over here on the bottom left-hand side of the map, we have the blue Protoss player from Berlin International Gaming. He is ShoWTimE. You know, Wardy, they do say that ShoWTimE has pretty big muscles. And I believe that the brain is a giant muscle as well. Does that mean that ShoWTimE is in fact big brain gaming?
I cannot confirm or deny. I don't think the brain's a muscle.
Well, you know, I don't have a PhD. I don't have a PhD, Morty.
Thank you, Smix. The other, me and Smix as like a quiz team have everything, because what I don't know, Smix does, and Smix says it's an organ. I actually think the brain has like a bit of muscle attached to it, but I don't think it actually is a muscle. It's an organ.
I think you're probably right, but I'm just here to say things and try and sneak them on through. I'm like, you know, I think legally after game 1, Goblin is legally required to play a macro game after that. And you're like, actually, no, there's no international law saying that. So I'm glad that both of you guys are here to shut me down.
Hey, cool results from the other stream. DNS 1-0 against Vanya. Vanya's one of those players vying for the top 2 of this group, right? So that's actually pretty good news for Goblin. Even if he, you know, if he can win this in the end, again, Goblin must win to have a playoff chance. But that kind of keeps his hopes alive even after dropping a first map here. So it's cool for us to know as viewers. Obviously, Goblin won't really know that himself right now. But of course, he just knows he has to win anyways. So he'll be try-harding. But again, for us as viewers, it keeps the story of Group B alive.
Yeah, it was Vanya and someone else, right? Hellraiser also had to lose, right?
Yeah, like,
that might be the harder one, right? Because Hellraiser's facing off versus Braddock, and I think Hellraiser's pretty favored there.
Yeah, for sure. So it's like, if everybody won, like if Vanya and Hellraiser won, then he had to 2-0 ShoWTimE. Now that obviously can't happen, so now he needs one of them to lose a series. So that's where we stand.
Okay, well, we got the usual PvP shenanigans coming on out. So we have tons and tons of scouting around the map for potential proxies and everything. And I believe ShoWTimE is barely going to miss this pylon. Oh, it's so close. All right, he will eventually actually find it on the return here with his probe.
Yeah, it's not. Is he actually going to build something here, Goblin? He just bring his probe back, but I don't think so. It's just heading home. So this is just hiding for the sake of hiding. It is an expansion from both players. Now, with the Stargate from Goblin up, he will go into an Oracle to begin with. So really is going into a bit more of a standard opener here on Eternal Empire. Of course, Eternal is this matchup, or this map we've got written down in this matchup as gives us great games, right? Because you can get to 3 bases, 4 bases, 5 bases very easily, very well defended. And that gives you the chance to go into those disruptors and those crazy scenarios where you start splitting up armies in half and fighting disruptors on 2 different sides. Now there's a Void Ray.
Oh my god, I was about to say the Oracle is actually rallied into the pathway that the Stalkers are going. So now ShoWTimE can actually poke forward. There's a shield banner finishing up. And you got to be a little bit careful about the Stalker micro here. But I think eventually ShoWTimE's either going to need to have additional Stalkers warped in back at home with like a shield battery there to defend against the Oracle. Or he can recall. But right now, he's getting some nice damage done. The shield battery's out of energy. And it's actually still 4 Stalkers versus 2. 2 more Stalkers get warped in. And that should finally signal the retreat over here for ShoWTimE.
Are we going to see more than 1 Void Ray for your Dragon? Is that just like a safety you're attacking me thing? Or
I think it's more, yeah.
There's another one. Okay.
It's Goblin.
Okay. I mean, you say this the last time I was hosting as well. I was like, man, there's going to be so many Void Rays today, and then nobody built a single Void Ray after the first one. So
yeah, so here's the thing, the way that I think about it, and there's actually a really great talk from Day 9 episode 100, where he talks about there's sometimes where points where you feel like, oh, you know, maybe I just shouldn't go for the strategy because, you know, it doesn't seem like it worked out. But oftentimes it'll feel like in StarCraft, even if it's not working out super duper well, sometimes the strategy you've practiced the most or you have the most experience with is going to be the best strategy to still pull out because it's just going to be what you can execute the best, right? So with the way that I always hear Goblins playing, like, I don't ever hear them saying like, oh yeah, I'm mostly going Void Rays. It's like I'm only going Void Rays.
Well, we do have Blink on the way from ShoWTimE, so in my eyes, that gives him a pretty good setup against these Void Rays, right? Like, that's the go-to. It will help you the most right here. So, yeah, I like this for ShoWTimE still. As Goblin's coming across the map already. I mean, this is really, obviously, not a game. I mean, he's going to find the Void Rays, but do the Void Rays find the Stalks is the real question. I think it might be that way around. He gets 2 of the kills, and that's big because, as I was about to say, this attack from Goblin is obviously not looking to go later in the game, right? There's no future-proofing of this army necessarily just yet. Now it starts +1 flyer attack, but I really thought he might have committed in there, and I think he's kind of got the supply to maybe do it too. But he does back off and plays a safer game. +1 air weapon starts up the Immortal production, and we go into Void Ray Immortal. All these kind of high power, you know, we do a lot of damage units.
Yeah, I have to say, like, I of course have seen early game Void Rays, end games in PvP. They can be really difficult to deal with. But I have to say, the thing that's actually really impressed me about the newer Void Rays is actually the slightly later game PvP. PvP Void Ray plays. When you actually start building up a large number, and you just need to catch your opponent out of position a little bit, because the Void Rays just kill things so quickly. I actually feel like that is maybe where I'm really looking forward to seeing Goblin's play style. It's not the early game Void Rays, it's the mid and late game ones.
Yeah, those later game Voids are scary. Not even not in PvP so much, but like in the other matchups, we've been seeing a fair amount of them, and they're scary. It is it's kind of really fun to see. I love this gateway from ShoWTimE, just giving him that warping potential already, so he can apply consistent pressure with Stalkers as he techs up without having the need to go into, you know, the Robo and the Warp Prism already. Just save you a bit of money there, because right now playing without the Robo, it allows him to get that +1 in the charge just right off the bat of this play.
Yep. And well, we see these Stalkers sharking around. They did manage to snipe off a single Zealot, head over to the Zelnaga Watchtower, but Goblin just got to make sure he's in position right now. He's very much so in the dark about the positioning of those Stalkers, so he has to be ready to move between the third and the natural, because if those Stalkers get a little bit too far in, they can start getting some really nice pickoffs here, especially just the quick right click down on one of those Void Rays and then blink out. Like, you take a bit too much damage, you really need to keep that Void Ray count up.
Yep, the Void Ray counter is very important. We talked about it previously as well, right? It's the power units, right? They really work well in numbers, and that's why, you know, you hear about like mass void cheese in team games and stuff, right? Because the guy that just builds mass voids, it feels unbeatable. What's meant to be the weakness of mass voids is you're not meant to be able to get there, you see, right? But especially Eternal Empire kind of lets you get into those weird later game positions because it's hard to kill someone on.
Yeah, Wardy, how would you feel about ShoWTimE actually starting to work on those rocks a little bit? I feel like the rocks are really mostly going to work against ShoWTimE, right? It's not actually going to work against Goblin all that much.
Only if ShoWTimE really wants to fight, but I don't think ShoWTimE necessarily wants to fight as much as ShoWTimE just wants to... Wow, that was beautiful. Wow. As much as ShoWTimE just wants to kind of keep Goblin at home because he's expanding more, he's teching up a lot. So as far as ShoWTimE's concerned, if Goblin's only on 3 bases and not moving across the map, he's probably okay. And in that case, the rocks kind of help Goblin stay penned in. So I think there's a good interest in both of them having the rocks kind of kept alive here.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Disruptors starting to be added on in, and this is where the Disruptors can really make it not the most ideal situation for ShoWTimE to use that blink too aggressively, because as soon as you use the blink aggressively, it's like there's no escape. The Disruptor shot's either going to hit you or you kill the Disruptor. While you're killing the Disruptor, all the Void Rays are just going to kill all your Stalkers, though, so it becomes a very dangerous game. And I feel like this is usually that point in time that I was talking about where Stalkers don't really feel like they're as great of an answer in these kind of Void Ray numbers, especially when you mix in, like you were saying, charge blocks and those Disruptors. And this is where I feel like this big Void Ray count gets really scary, because it's actually pretty difficult to figure out what exactly is the answer when your opponent has that many Voids.
Yeah, I think Storm is actually really good, right? Because the Storm, the problem with everything else is the Disruptors zone you away, right? Whereas the Storm can drop and then back, you know, High Tempo can back off a little bit. It doesn't need to be right underneath the Void Rays to keep on firing. So I wouldn't even mind, like, it seems ridiculous because Storm isn't that great usually in PvP, but this is one of the scenarios where it might be okay. The problem is any other counter, the Disruptors just stop, right? If you go Archons for that splash damage, the Disruptors kind of stop that. Stalkers, the Disruptors kind of stop it. The Immortals and the Zealots too. So yeah, that might be a way to look at this. I don't think Storm is super reliable at the same time, and obviously you can micro against it, especially with the Void Rays being so fast. But yeah, we'll see how ShoWTimE does approach this. He's getting aggressive, like right here and now. He wants to push on in, and well, I honestly think that this should be a Goblin that's very well prepared to fight. You can see as soon as that Disruptor fires, ShoWTimE cannot stick around.
Yeah, I guess this big answer over here is going to actually partially be just the Archons with big air splash damage, but he has to be really cautious with his control as well. The Stalkers cannot get in the way of those Archons. They have to blink back defensively so that the Archons can pass their way through. The charge lots have to then close the distance, get in on top of any Disruptors that are at the forefront. They're going to be firing off their shots. Like, this is a very micro-intensive engagement, whichever way it's going to happen.
Well, back around the left-hand side, ShoWTimE's obviously just... He's poised to hit the 4th base, but do you get that opportunity? I really don't think so. The thing is, this is Eternal Empire, right? Where if any other map is in this scenario, you have a choice to go elsewhere with some damage at ShoWTimE. But on Eternal Empire, you kind of just don't. You can walk into a full wall off of the natural, which Goblin can rotate you very quickly. you just don't have many options in terms of what you can do. He's going to start pushing forward here. The first disruptor shot is dodged beautifully. All those voids are powered up. And honestly, these Archons, they took a big disruptor shot on the left side, so they're all hurt. And Goblin is kind of holding on here. There's a few Zealots on the ground fighting away. Good fighting back from Goblin too. He's about to lose prismatic alignment as the Stalkers get underneath this army. I still kind of believe in the power of these Void Rays.
Yeah, I mean, the Zealots are going to be going hard on the ground, but yeah, the Void Rays are just way too strong over here. I actually think ShoWTimE made a big blunder there because the Archons were supposed to deal with the Void Rays, but the Archons are getting choked up by a shield battery, a pylon, and I think just maybe one other pylon. They weren't all getting in on top of the Void Rays. I think if the Void Rays had clear access, or sorry, the Archons had clear access to the Void Rays, I believe in that fight for ShoWTimE, but he just didn't. They were just getting walled off.
Goblin did a great job of pulling the Void Rays back as well. Like, he let them damage and he pulled them back a little bit as the Archons started to catch up and figure out the Sim City. So he did a great job of preserving the Void Rays so far, and that was great. He only lost 5 Voids and 2 Disruptors, a little bit else on the ground, but like, he's killed 9 Archons and 22 Stalkers, and the majority of that was in that fight. Honestly, the biggest issue for Goblin was that a few Zealots got into the mineral line and they killed a bunch of probes. Like, that was the only thing from ShoWTimE that was really successful in that game, in that last fight.
I have 74 workers left. Whatever will I do?
Yeah, I mean, like, he's still got, exactly, right? He's still got probes, so it's not really an issue. It's just if there was one thing that went well for ShoWTimE, it was he killed a few probes. He does rebuild quickly. ShoWTime's on 90 probes, so his economy is ridiculous right now, and I love this. Splitting up his army, because it's a big weakness of what Goblin is playing. He's playing a very tech-heavy army that never wants to split up. It wants to be a death ball. And so splitting your army up like this as ShoWTimE gives you a much better chance of fighting this off and actually finding good fights.
Yeah, Void Rays on the right-hand side means that potentially some of the units over here on the left-hand side are going to be able to do something for ShoWTimE, but no, it looks like actually Goblin does split up both of his sets of Void Rays, and honestly, I think he's just at that point now where even the Void Rays split up half and half, it's still like 9 Void Rays. That's so difficult to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, that's the crazy. It's just so many. That's the difference. There's just so many of them. I like that this is ShoWTimE kind of bringing his, 2 armies together almost for this fight. I believe in that a little bit. Disruptor shot actually lands on the top side, though. ShoWTimE maybe paying more attention to the bottom, but he does get a base. And obviously for Goblin, that's a lot of lost mining. That's Goblin's issue, I guess. Does he have a way to push across the map aggressively? I feel like that takes away a lot of his advantage. He is on his way to carries if he can survive that long. As here we go, an engagement in again. This time the Archons get some shots.
Disruptor also manages to land on a lot of those Zealots. Another kill on that 4th base. I think that is the name of the game here, right? Because we've already been seeing ShoWTimE expanding much, much faster than Goblin. And it's just starve Goblin out. And actually, funny enough, Goblin is moving into the carrier transition, which of course is going to be incredibly strong, right? But carriers do have one other weakness, is that you need to be able to rebuild those interceptors. If you're playing against someone who just has double the number of bases as you, and you gradually start bleeding out those Void Rays that actually just offer consistent damage, well, the carriers, they're going to lose those interceptors, and ShoWTimE might actually just be able to bleed out Goblin here.
Yeah, Goblin needs to take the 4th base again with these carriers. Like, you need to hold that this time around. Maybe even a 5th base as well, as ShoWTimE goes up to base number 6, still on 90 probes. His economy is insane, and because of it, he's starting to build up a big bank. Yeah.
Look at just they don't want to. They don't know exactly where the army is.
Well, they don't want to blink in, right? Because of the disruptors. So they got to be really careful. He's going to go for the carriers though, and he's going to get one of them. I mean, that's always going to be valuable.
Yeah, that's an expensive unit over here. And the rest of the army from the natural moves forward. He's going to just right-click down that natural. Cancel comes on out. Stalkers blink in for another kill on a couple of these Voiders, killing off a few interceptors, killing off a few probes, which, not going to lie, Goblin can probably still afford to lose some and still be okay. But man, it seems like Goblin, even with some really cost-efficient engagements, he's losing units he just can't replace without a 4th.
Yeah. Yeah, he's struggling a little bit. He's about to have a mothership show up. Not sure if ShoWTimE actually has an observer around here right now.
Had one, but he doesn't anymore.
I mean, had one when there's this many like air units on the map, I feel is a very questionable statement for your Dragon. Or maybe a very safe statement. So as we do see oracles from ShoWTimE, it's a very reliable way to play, because now you can't have your observer sniped mid-fight. You are obviously going to have that revelation, and it will last. I think Goblin just goes. You know, they've got this 4th base so many times. I think the more Goblin turns around to fight, the more bank ShoWTimE has to eventually just rebuild off a big fight. And if Goblin goes as well, ShoWTimE has to rebuild on his side of the map, and he'll be on top of that rebuild really quickly.
I'm mostly with you, Wardy. I do actually wonder, just because I feel like it's such a dangerous way to play, but I'm starting to wonder if Goblin just goes across the map, can ShoWTimE just base trade it? Obviously, I think the way the Goblin's doing this really right now is great, because ShoWTimE doesn't have a chance to just start backstabbing immediately, right? His army is getting chased down as Goblin moves across the map. This is the ideal way for Goblin to be able to move out. And now ShoWTimE's gonna start moving across the map. Now he can start making this awkward for Goblin, but I mean, Goblin, frankly, just doesn't actually have that many buildings.
Yeah, I kind of don't mind the base trade in Goblin's favor, because I think it's good for him that he'll die bases. But you're right, he's going to be put into like a must defend back at home scenario much faster than his opponent will be. And so then he has to go back home, and ShoWTimE can just take bases elsewhere. And maybe this is what, I mean, could he have gone across sooner? I mean, that's a difficult conversation to have, but it does put him in a weird position as these stalkers moving around all over.
Wardy, I'm actually really worried for Goblin now. He's down to 17 workers. He doesn't even have enough resources to build another Nexus. If he loses this natural, he's going to have to long distance mine if he wants to get up another Nexus. If he wants to get up any other real buildings, he's also supply blocked, so reinforcements are not going to be able to handle this. In fact, his reinforcements, okay, he's going to end up recalling back. ShoWTimE did a very aggressive blink forward, though, and the disruptor shots are going off. Goblin handily is going to be able to win that fight. It is just about the fact that Goblin cannot replace this. He recalls back across the map with the mothership. The double recall.
That's such a sick play. ShoWTimE was not ready for the first recall in the slightest. He was not expecting that army to be there. And the recall back across the map is so sick, because now you can get straight back to the job. Okay, ShoWTime's still base trading, but it's not that many stalkers anymore. And there's actually a good amount of units to defend with, so ShoWTimE has to back off. And now Goblin's going to dive the main base. He's on top of the Drug Spear Dragon. And this is maybe going to reset this down to just one big fight.
Oh, man, this is so tough for ShoWTimE now. I really believe, but man, that split up over there from Goblin was so perfect. Having the Immortals and a Disruptor up on the high ground makes it so difficult for ShoWTimE to do this. I love that Goblin's target firing down pylons. It's not just about depowering the production. ShoWTimE is supply blocked. He is so ridiculously supply blocked that even if he had production, he can't use his economy right now, Wardy. Those resources are going to a waste. He has to go for it right now, but the Archo's getting in on top of all this. Void Rays. Oh my God, Wardy, the Void Rays are disappearing.
Oh my God, what is happening? The problem is for Goblin, he's got so much back at home. Remember, multiple carriers just missing from this fight. And that was a really risky engagement from ShoWTimE, but he's able to make it work. I mean, again, Goblin still has this army up here, right? Imagine this was all together, and maybe Goblin should have taken the chance to kind of back away a little bit sooner, but I can understand why he fights, because if you're backing away, what are you going to do in the long run? ShoWTimE still has bases in both corners of the map. It's a really tough little scenario, and I think ShoWTimE has just got this good enough now to shut this down. He's got a huge bank once he gets his pylons online, which he's built 9 of them. This should be ShoWTimE's game.
What? Just absolutely insane finish over there. Yeah, you're right. 3 workers is not exactly going to be enough for Goblin to just rebuild any of those losses. And every second that goes by, we see that, yes, ShoWTimE's going to get further and further ahead. The Voider's not even in position to help out with this fight. A Disruptor shot is beautiful, and it does actually get a lot of damage done, but an irreplaceable army goes down. ShoWTimE takes the 2-0.